who looks outside, dreams, who looks inside, awakes. Carl Gustav Jung. The Rise of the Puer Aeternus. Marie-Louise von Franz, a Swiss psychologist, observed a troubling trend in the mid-20th century. Many men and women who had reached adulthood continued to lack psychological maturity. They inhabited adult bodies, but their mental development did not keep pace. Von Franz saw this issue as so urgent that in 1959, she delivered a series of lectures on the psychology of the Puer Aeternus, which in Latin means eternal child. Originally, this term was used in mythology to refer to a child god who remains forever young. Her mentor, Carl Jung, adopted the term for psychological purposes to describe individuals who, like Peter Pan, refuse to grow up. Symptoms of the eternal child. In one of her lectures, von Franz described the Puer Aeternus as someone who remains too long in the psychology of adolescence, meaning that traits typical of a 17 or 18-year-old persist into adulthood, often accompanied by an exaggerated dependence on the mother. Von Franz predicted that in the coming decades, what she termed the problem of the Puer Aeternus would spread worldwide and affect an increasing number of people. Her predictions proved remarkably accurate, particularly among the male population of the Western world. Modern manifestations of the Puer Aeternus. Many young people today face academic, social, spiritual, economic, and sexual difficulties. They remain at home until their 20s or 30s, preferring the comfortable confines of parental care over venturing into the uncharted waters of independence. Rather than striving to create something for themselves, many retreat into the comfortable virtual worlds of the internet. Pornography and video games become passive pastimes in lives devoid of direction or purpose, except for the pursuit of momentary pleasure to alleviate suffering. Given the scope of this issue, it would not be an exaggeration to say that the problem of the Puer Aeternus is the primary neurosis of the modern era. The goal of this video is to provide an antidote for those suffering from this condition. To do so, we will offer a detailed psychological analysis of the man-child and, based on the ideas of Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, von Franz, and others, provide practical advice on how to embark on a more responsible, enriching, successful, and above all, independent life. The mother complex. Before delving into the psychology of the Puer Aeternus, it is necessary to examine the conditions that have led to this social issue. To this end, we must discuss how a strong maternal complex stunts the maturation of many individuals today. As von Franz observed, a man with a complex tied to his mother will always struggle against tendencies that push him toward becoming a Puer Aeternus. Throughout our evolutionary history, mothers and fathers have assumed different parental roles. Mothers have always interacted more with their children than fathers, maintaining more physical contact and being more affectionate, comforting, and empathetic toward their children's physical and emotional pains and needs. This extremely intimate and close relationship with the mother figure creates a lasting emotional imprint or a highly resistant psychological bond in the child, which psychologists call the maternal complex. The child's experience of the mother is internalized as a complex, a cluster of emotionally charged energy that escapes the control of the ego. The role of fathers and initiation. Rites. Fathers do not create the same bond of dependency with the child. Traditionally, the father's role has been to provide resources, protection, and above all, guidance. More specifically, The father's role has been to help the child break free from the dependency bond with the mother and, in doing so, help them face the world as an independent and functional adult. In most cultures throughout history, individuals transitioned from adolescence to adulthood with the help of initiation rites. The primary goal of these rituals across all cultures was to separate the young person from their mother, first physically, then psychologically. These rites were conducted shortly after puberty and were instituted exclusively by the older men of the tribe. Women were generally forbidden from observing or participating in these rituals. Ancient rites of passage. A typical initiation rite, as Mircea Eliade explains in his book, Rites and Symbols of Initiation, proceeded as follows. In the middle of the night, the tribal elders, dressed as gods or demons, would snatch the young person from their bed. This was the last time the young person would see their mother. Sometimes, for months, they would take the youth to a deep cave, bury them alive, or immerse them in some form of darkness, literal or symbolic. This stage represented the symbolic death of the youth's childhood, the loss of paradise, and the joys of irresponsibility. The goal was to convey to the young person that they could no longer return home. After the symbolic death of childhood, a rebirth ceremony was held, marking the youth's transformation into a mature adult. The elders would then teach them and send them into the wilderness, where they would spend many months fighting for survival. Upon their return, they were welcomed into the tribe as adult members, and from that moment on, they were expected to have overcome their maternal complex. Immaturity and dependency were no longer acceptable. The absent father crisis, given the intensity and sometimes violent nature of these initiation processes, it seems our ancestors understood that separating a young person from their mother was a monumental task requiring deliberate measures. The lack of cultural fathers and initiation rites today means that young people must turn to their own fathers for guidance into adulthood. Unfortunately, not all fathers are capable of providing this guidance. To do so, a father must be strong and independent, emotionally present in his child's life, and able to demonstrate through his actions that there is something worth striving for in this world. To successfully encourage a young person to break free from the comforts of childhood, the father must be convinced that there is somewhere worth going. Children also need to see their fathers in the world. They need their fathers to show them how to behave, how to work, and how to recover from adversity. They need the activation of their inherent masculinity, both through external modeling and direct affirmation. James Hollis, in Under Saturn's Shadow, cites a broad study in which only 17% of American men reported having had a positive relationship with their father during their youth. In most cases, the father was physically or emotionally absent. Reflecting on this statistic, psychotherapist James Hollis writes, "If this surprising statistic is even close to the truth, something large and tragic has happened to one of nature's critical balances. It is no wonder that the problem of the man-child occupies such a prominent place in our era." The devouring mother dynamic. The effects of an absent father are compounded by the impact this has on the mother. A situation arises where, first, the mother tends to be more present in parenting, to compensate for the lack of a male figure in the child's life. Second, the father's failure to provide love and support to the mother creates an emotional hunger in her that she attempts to satisfy through her relationship with her son. This creates a perfect storm in which the mother, what Jungians call the devouring mother, overprotects and smothers her son, involving herself in every aspect of his life, often despite her best intentions. Such a mother unconsciously manipulates her son into remaining dependent on her into adulthood. Jung's warning, reflecting on the secret conspiracy between mother and son and how each helps the other betray life. Carl Jung writes, "A boy raised in this manner, who has never had the opportunity to venture out on his own, to support himself, to fail and correct his own mistakes, or to make decisions for himself, becomes an adult incapable of dealing with and overcoming the inevitable challenges and struggles of life. The healthy desire to adapt to reality and to individuate, which involves fear, pain, and conflict, will be replaced by the need to remain tied to the mother, whether she is biological or a symbolic substitute." In other words, when a young man reaches adulthood with a strong maternal complex, he will not seek to develop his independence or evolve his consciousness. Instead, he will be possessed by what Jung called the spirit of regression, which threatens us with enslavement to the mother and dissolution into the unconscious. This is a difficult theme to grasp. Most avoid and resist it for years, but you have read to the end. And that is why we will continue to provide tools to help you achieve your fullness. Thank you for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care and trust the journey.